Assalamu alaikum everyone, how are you doing? Inshallah you've been keeping healthy and safe and happy. I miss you guys. Inshallah we'll get to see you again soon. Today we're going to be talking about a new topic. We're going to be talking about Hajj. You'll find it in your book starting on page 90. On page 90 and 91 there's like a bit of a story about the well of Zamzam. You can read that. And today I'm going to start explaining from page 92. I've just got the pages up in front of you on the screen just to make things a bit easier, but you can also follow from the book if you like. So let's get started. Hajj. What is Hajj? Here it says it means visiting the Kaaba and the holy places around it certain days of the lunar year. Well, basically Hajj is when we make the obligatory pilgrimage that Allah has made an obligation on us as Muslims. We know that performing Hajj is the fifth pillar of Islam. So if someone denies Hajj, denies that it's part of Islam, or if they do not accept it, then they're not considered as a Muslim. So it's very important. It's very critical. It has a very high value. Allah tells us in the Quran that performing Hajj is an obligation upon us if we are able to do so. Down the track, inshallah, we'll talk about some of the conditions that we need to fulfill to be able to do Hajj. The Prophet ﷺ, you can see there's a hadith here. The Prophet ﷺ says he was asked, what is the most superior deed? So what is the best deed what we can do? And the Prophet ﷺ said to believe in Allah and His Messenger. And then he was asked, what's next? And the Prophet ﷺ said jihad in the way of Allah. Then he was asked what's next, and the Prophet ﷺ said Hajj pleasing to Allah. So you can see that Hajj has very high value, very high importance, and it's one of the best things that you can do as a Muslim. The benefits of Hajj. Now, the benefits of Hajj, there are individual benefits, and there are benefits for the nation, the Muslim nation, or the Ummah as a whole. Individually, again, most people when they go to Hajj, if they're going with sincerity, with the right intention, and they're doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's a life-changing experience for them. They don't come back the same as they went. First of all, if Allah accepts your Hajj, then it's as if Allah will wipe out all your sins, as if the day you were born, you have no sins. So, which is obviously a huge blessing and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, in Hajj, there's many things that you're not allowed to do, even things that are considered halal outside of Hajj. Like, for example, for the men, they can't wear clothes that have any sewing in them, no khiyata, no sewing. So, outside of Hajj, they can, obviously, it's not a problem. But inside of Hajj, they're not allowed to. So in Hajj, you have to stay away from things that are, even things that, are halal. Obviously, you have to stay away from the haram as well, but even things that halal become prohibited in Hajj. So it's a kind of training, because imagine you're staying away from things that are actually halal. And now when Hajj finishes, and then you're faced again with doing haram or halal, it'll be much easier for you to stay away from the haram, because you even trained yourself to stay away from even the things that are halal. So it becomes easier to stay away from haram. So it's like a special training for us as well. As an ummah, you will never find in any other religion the amount of people that come from all over the world and gather in one place for one thing as you will find in Hajj. This is something very unique and special to the Muslim Ummah. It's a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We come together and it's a lesson for us to learn from. There's no differences between us. We come and stand in front of Allah all the same. It doesn't matter what nationality you are, which country you came from, doesn't matter how money you have or how little you have. We're all coming together, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people all in one place to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it strengthens our feelings as of brotherhood, and it allows us to connect with each other, to be aware of each other's problems, and obviously the idea behind it as well is that we help each other. As a Muslim nation, we should all be looking out for each other. It's not like, okay, I only care about, because I'm from Jordan, I'm only going to care about Jordanian people. I'm from Iraq, and we're just going to care about Iraqis. No, it doesn't work like that. In fact, In Islam, these borders shouldn't exist. We should be one Muslim nation, one Muslim country, and we were like that at the time of Khilafah. As a Muslim, you could travel anywhere in the Muslim world, just being a Muslim. Your passport was being a Muslim. There weren't these borders. So Hajj is a time for us to remember that. Also, I just want to add something with the purifying of the sins. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts someone's Hajj, the scholars say that inshallah Allah will allow them for the rest of their life, help them to do more good deeds and bad deeds. So eventually inshallah they end up going to paradise. So this is something to keep in mind. Moving on with the benefits, it says here Hajj is a great opportunity to leave our bad habits, perfect our morals. Because we were saying that things that are even halal outside of Hajj become prohibited inside of Hajj. For example, cutting off plants, wearing sewn clothes for men, or perfume is not allowed. Fighting, obviously, fighting, we shouldn't be fighting with each other anyway, but especially inside Hajj, it will damage your Hajj. So if you get in an argument, it will damage your Hajj. And people who go on Hajj actually say that they struggle a lot with this. Because you imagine all these people, they're crowded there's not much space for everyone is stressed and trying to go do one thing, then move on to the next place and to the next place that they're staying maybe in tents, or maybe they don't even have tents. So it's a very stressful time, and a lot of people sometimes are confined, like 10, 20 people in one small room or one small tent, and it's not easy to get food, or depending on the stage of Hajj you're in. So it makes people's patience get very very thin, and it's very easy for them to get angry. The people maybe start pushing each other, shoving each other. They want to react or say something bad to each other. So you really have to control yourself to be able to get the rewards of Hajj. The hadith here at the top saying, whoever performs Hajj for Allah's pleasure and does not do evil or commit major sins, and then he will return after Hajj free from all sins as if he was born anew. So you have to control yourself when you're Hajj. By the way, Ramadan is coming, inshallah, and this is another time where when we learn to control ourselves, and throughout the day you're learning to stay away from halal things. Like food and drink is halal, but during the day of Ramadan you have to stay away from it. So again, you're controlling yourself to stay away from halal. It'll be easier for you to stay away from haram later on. Coming together as millions of Muslims from all around the world, different languages, countries, dresses, cultures, everything is different. This helps us to know that we are all equal in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I just remembered, if I'm correct, Malcolm X, when he first became a Muslim, he believed that Islam was just for black people. And it was kind of like, the reason, because the black people at the time were going through so much oppression, and they were treated very badly. So it was like a type of getaway for some people. And especially in America, there's these groups that were preaching Islam, but saying that, this is for black people, something special for black people anyway. So he eventually went to Hajj, and then he was surprised to see that's not true. There's white people and Asians, all different people there, and it's not just for black people. So it taught him a huge lesson, and that we are all human. We are all have the same needs, the same desires, the same faults, the same and in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the only thing that Allah differentiates between us is with our taqwa and our good deeds. So the only thing that makes one person better than another person is how much taqwa they have, how many good deeds they're doing. It's not about where you're from or where you're born or anything like that. So I'm just going to, the believers here, in an ayah in Surah Al-Hujurat, the meaning of the ayah, the believers are but a single brotherhood, meaning that we should all be as one. Okay, so there are different acts of worship within Hajj. We do tawaf, going around the Kaaba. We do sa'i between Safa and Marwa. We stand on Arafat, and we stone the devil. All of these acts help purify us from our sins. In a hadith, Prophet said, "Are you not aware of the fact that Islam wipes out all of the previous Sorry about that, guys. The maximum I can record at one point is 10 minutes. So, anyway, so going back, are you not aware of the fact that Islam wipes out all the previous deeds? So, meaning that if someone was a non-Muslim and they became a Muslim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will wipe out all the sins they did when they were non-Muslim. And migration wipes out all the previous deeds also. Migration meaning making hijrah for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he also mentioned Hajj, another way to wipe out all your deeds. Hajj is an act of worship that lasts about 1 month. Yeah, it depends. But usually around that time. In Hajj, everything we do is organized based on the acts of worship. So we follow, like there's a certain order that we follow, and we get this order from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, what we do with the tawaf and the sa'i and all those things, and sa'i on Arafah. As we said, it's a special training. And a lot of people, when they come back from Hajj, they're not the same. Now, I want to point to something here. A lot of people think that Hajj is something we should do when we get older. It's for the oldies, just before they die. So they wipe their slate clean, and their sins are all forgiven, and that's it. But there's problems with this kind of thinking. First of all, we don't know when we're going to die. None of us know. And if we have the ability to do Hajj and we don't, and we die, and we have chosen not to Hajj, and we die before we do it, then we're going to be in big trouble on the Day of Judgment, because Hajj is one of the pillars of Islam. So we can't intentionally not go to Hajj. If we have the means, we should do it. Number two, when people thinking, as we said, we don't know when we're going to die. And people think, okay, wait until I'm old so then I can wipe my slate clean and all that. But if you do go to Hajj when you are younger, inshallah, and it's accepted, Allah will allow you then to carry on your life. Sorry, alhamdulillah. Allah will allow you then to carry your life in a good way. You continue to do more good deeds than bad deeds. So it will fix your life. And this is better to do when you're younger. Plus, when you're younger, you have the strength, you have the health. Many people, when they reach old age, they don't have the health anymore to go to Hajj. They've lost their opportunity. So this is something we need to keep in mind. Hajj is an obligation on us. When we have the means to do so, we should do it. We shouldn't wait. Here in this hadith, again, is emphasizing, the last hadith emphasizing the same, talking about Umrah. Umrah, if you do Umrah, and like for Umrah, you did Umrah this year, and then you do Umrah next year, then between the two Umrahs, Allah forgives all of your sins. And also talking again about if you do Hajj Mabrur, and the reward of Hajj Mabrur, that means it's accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The only reward for that is paradise. And this is why, as I was saying before, scholars say if your Hajj is accepted, then Allah will allow you to, will help you to do more good deeds and bad deeds for the rest of your life, so you do end up going to paradise. This is just a little bit of a story. I think it's more for the younger kids, but you can read it anyway. I won't go through that now. Okay, for whom is Hajj obligatory? So who has to do Hajj? Hajj is only obligatory once in a lifetime. And obviously you have to be a Muslim. So if a non-Muslim goes and does all the rituals of Hajj, it's not going to be accepted from them. You're mentally healthy, so you know what you're doing. You're aware of what's right from wrong. You've reached the age of puberty. Now, in Islam, we don't have teenagers. We have children and adults. So when you reach the age of puberty, you're an adult in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and all the obligations of Islam are upon you now, and including Hajj. When we reach the age of puberty, for boys there are signs, for girls there are signs. Some children, they develop, they become, they reach puberty when they're 10 years old, some when they're 11, 13, 14. But even if the signs haven't shown, then from 15 years old, you're considered an adult. You have the freedom to travel. What does this mean? Like you're able to travel physically. Also, there was slavery at one point in Islam, so they had to. The slaves would have to take permission. No illness that prevent them to go to Hajj. Have enough financial means to meet the expenses of Hajj and sustenance for the family, and it's safe for you to go. So, for example, if someone doesn't have enough money and they do not have the money to do Hajj, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not hold them accountable. But we should try and make sure we're doing all the efforts we can. Like some people, and subhanAllah, amazing people, some people have gone to Hajj on a bicycle. And they don't have the money to get on an airplane, they've gone on a bicycle all the way from a different country. Some people, when they go to Hajj, they don't have money to stay in a hotel or this or that. They're happy just to stay in in a small tent or something like that, or even not having anywhere to stay. So this again comes back to us. Are we willing to sacrifice for the sake of Allah? Obviously, I'm not saying that we have to do this, but I'm just showing you that some people say, like, they don't make excuses for themselves. They do the best they can. We have no problems with road safety, meaning that it's safe to go. Like, you're not going to be attacked on the way by like maybe gangs or something like that. It's safe for you to travel. Pilgrimage this is an ayah in the Quran. This is the meaning of the ayah. Pilgrimage there too is a duty men owe to Allah, those who can afford. وعلى الناس حج البيت من استطاع إليه سبيلا. We need to, it's an obligation on us. This is like a small kind of poem you can read. The Kaaba. Now, at the top here it says the center of the surface of the earth is the Kaaba, and the center of man is his heart, and the owner of our heart and our Kaaba is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, this I know can be debated. There are people who say yes, and there are people who say no. Whether the Kaaba is the center of the earth or not, Allah knows best. I do know that some scholars also agree with this. I believe it to be true, but I don't think there's hard evidence on that. Okay. As we pay attention to the cleanliness of the Kaaba, we should pay attention to the purity of our hearts. We should purify it from evil feelings and thoughts, just like Ibrahim and Ismail, who cleaned the Kaaba from all kinds of dirt. Now, before we get into the purifying part, just to mention that the Kaaba is the first place of worship that Allah put on earth. Adam ﷺ was the first one to build the Kaaba, and then it got destroyed by the flooding that happened at the time of Nuh ﷺ, and later on Allah Ta'ala instructed Ibrahim ﷺ, Ismail ﷺ to rebuild the Kaaba. Maybe you can read more about the details of that. As Muslims, we do put a lot of emphasis on the Kaaba, and we like to take care of it. We like to make sure it's clean and all that. But there's a hadith, and we don't want it to be harmed as well in any way. There's a hadith that the Prophet ﷺ was saying that just the killing of one Muslim is worse to Allah SWT than the destruction of the Kaaba. So yes, the Kaaba is very, very important, but also us as Muslims, how we worship Allah, how we're acting towards each other is more important. If we do the right thing, we will, by default, we'll be protecting the Kaaba. Obviously, these days are very sad days because the Kaaba now is empty. And there's a lot of, to mention that prayers in all mosques, pretty much all over the world, have been stopped. Jumu'ah prayers, and even praying in the Haram has been very highly restricted. This is very sad. And it's a time for us to reflect. Subhanallah, I hope that before the time of Hajj, everything has gone back to normal. But right now, it's almost as like Muslims have been told to stay out of the houses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's very sad. We have to reflect on ourselves. We have to go back to Allah. We have to ask Allah to forgive us, and we have to take heed from what's happening. We shouldn't take what's happening lightly. Yes, we hope. We have hope in Allah and hope in His mercy. We hope it's going to end soon. But we also have to not take things lightly. The Kaaba being empty is not something small. It's not something normal. It's not something that we should find rest with. So it's a time for us to, if any kinds of sins we're doing, this is a time to make tawbah and ask Allah to forgive us. And inshallah, one day, very soon, we see the Kaaba filled again with worshippers, inshallah. Now, Ibrahim alayhi salam and Ismail alayhi salam, when they completed the building of the Kaaba, Allah told him in the Quran to call to the people to come and perform Hajj. This is, and it was made an obligation from then on. I'm just looking. Okay, this one's going to be a short one, don't worry. I'm just going to finish off here. So yes, the ayah وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ بِالْحَجِّ يَأْتُوكَ رِجَالًا وَعَلَى كُلِّ ضَامِرٍ يَأْتِينَ مِنْ كُلِّ فَجٍّ عَمِيقٍ. Call to Hajj and tell people to come to the house of Allah to worship. Just يعني I'm just gonna, at the top of the page here, it says, just as we hate to destroy Kaaba, we should similarly hate to break people's hearts and hurt their souls. So just as a note here, you will see, sometimes it's weird, like you'll see oppressors going to make Hajj, people who have killed Muslims, harmed Muslims, imprisoned Muslims. You will see people who are living very sinful lives, maybe like dancers or singers, and they go to Hajj, and then they come back and they continue doing these deeds. Like there was like a belly dancer, well known, I won't mention names, in Arab country, and she went belly dancing and she's exposing all her body and everything. And when she went to do Hajj and she came back, she continued. Yani Hajj is not a free ticket to paradise. It doesn't mean that we can just do anything and then we wipe the slate clean and then we go back and do sins and then we go back and do the same thing again and we think it's going to work. It doesn't work like that. Plus, if we are doing, like the man came on the Day of Judgment, Prophet was saying that he came and he had done so many good deeds. He's gone to Hajj, he had gone to Umrah, he had given charity, and he had prayed, and he had fasted, and he thought he was going to paradise. But then you look on the other hand, and then he found that he had harmed people, sworn at people, beaten people, stolen people's money, backbited people, done all these bad things to people. So actually, at the end of the day, he ended up going to the hellfire. So we have to be careful. Hajj is a very important thing, very big thing. We will only be forgiven if Allah forgives our sins and accepts our Hajj. And it doesn't mean that we just get away with anything that we do. It doesn't work like that. I'd like you to read through the pages that we went through in this lecture. You will find an assignment to do. You'll have a week to do it. I'll be written in the Google Classroom. And inshallah, I may also post a link to a video that you can watch about Hajj. Stay safe, stay healthy, and may Allah protect you all. Inshallah, we'll see you all again soon. Assalamu alaikum.